Okay, today we're going to learn through the entire 12th perek of Yeshua. Relatively short perek because half of it is just listing a bunch of kings, as we'll see, more than half of it. Uh, there's no reason to drag something out if it doesn't need to be dragged out. So the basic introduction to this perek is we're going to take an inventory of the territory over here. We're going to learn about all the land that was conquered by Moshe and Yeshua, and now was ready to be distributed to the tribes. Also, we're going to discuss that the two kings that were defeated by Moshe and the 31 kings of the defeated Canaanite city-states conquered by Yeshua, we're going to talk about those as well. Before Moshe passed away, he conquered the lands of Sichon and Og on the east bank of the Yarden, the Jordan River. His name isn't mentioned as the conqueror of Sichon because Moshe didn't personally participate in that war. We're going to see Moshe is going to be mentioned in the sixth pasuk, which comes after already discussing Og's kingdom, because they were afraid of Og, and he couldn't have been defeated without the participation of Moshe. It's Kli Yakar's explanation. According to the Ralbag, Moshe isn't mentioned at the beginning to indicate that the victory did not come in his personal merit. Rather, it was because Hashem made a covenant with our forefathers, the Avos. It's basically the introduction to this parak. Pasuk, the psukim begin by saying Ve'ilu Malchi Aretz. These are the kings of the land Asher Hiku b'nei Yisrael that hit the Jews. But Yershu es Artzim, but Yeshu es Artzim, and they inherited their land. Be'var Yard on the other side of the Jordan, Mizracha Hashemish, the east towards the rising sun. Menachal Arnon at Har Chermon v'kol Arova Mizracha. From the Nachal, the river of Arnon, until the mountain of Chermon, Har Chermon. Pretty sure that's the same one where they have skiing at now in Israel. V'chol Arova Mizracha. The entire plain to the east. Next pasuk says, Sichon Melech Amori. Sichon was the king of the Amori people. Hayoshi b'Cheshbon, who was sitting in Cheshbon. Moishel Aroer. He's the king of, he was ruling over that place, Aroer Asher, Al Sfas Nachal, Arnon, which was at the riverbank of Arnon, V'toch HaNachal, and in the riverbank, V'chatzi HaGilad, and half of Gilad V'ad Yavok, and until Yavok, HaNachal, which was the river Gvul Bnei Ammon. That was the border of the people of Amnon. Yavok HaNachal, the Metzudas David said, is the name of a place by the river. The pasuk says, V'harava, and the plain, Ad Yam Kinaris, until the Yam Kinaris, Mizracha, east, V'ad Yam Arava, until the Sea of the Arava, Yamamelech, Sea of Salt, Mizracha, on the east, Derech Beis Hayeshimas, the way of Beis Hayeshimas, the name of a place. Umetemen, and from the south, Tachas Ashtos HaPiska, under the falls. Ashtos means the falls of the Pisgah is a place. It's all names of places over here. Fourth pasuk, Ugavul Og Melech HaBashan, and the border of Og, the king of Bashan, Umiyesa Rephaim, and the remains of the giants Hayoshiv Ba'ashtaros Ube'edrahi. They were sitting in the Astros and in Edrahi. Again, names of places. Umosha Bahar Chermon, Uba Salko Bakol HaBashan, Agvul HaGishuri Vaha Ma'achasi. This is talking about ruling from Har Chermon, we said before, the mountain of Chermon, and a place called Salko. Ubakol HaBashan, and in all of Bashan, Ad Gvul, until the border of Hagishuri. Gishuri. V'hamach Achasi, and another place, Mach Achasi. V'chatzi HaGilad, and half of Gilad, Gvul Sichon Melech Cheshbon, the border of Sichon, the king of Cheshbon. The next pasuk says that Moshe Eved Hashem. Moshe was a servant of Hashem. Moshe Eved Adonai Bnei Yisrael Hikum. Yitna Moshe Eved Adonai Yerusha LaRuvenu v'Lagadi v'Chatzi Shevet HaManashe. Moshe was a servant of Hashem, and the Jews, they defeated them, and they gave Moshe as an inheritance that he hit Yeshua. Excuse me. He gave it as inheritance. Yitna Moshe Eved Hashem. Moshe, the servant of Hashem, gave it as inheritance. Yerusha. It was an inheritance. The Ravuni v'Lagadi v'Chatzi Shevet HaManashe. To the Reuveni, tribe of Reuven, Gad, and half of the tribe of Manasseh. It was an inheritance. So those are basically the first six psukim over here. Introduction to the next psukim, which there's really not much left of this perek because it's just naming kings. The Malbim notes that in several cases, and including Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, the cities mentioned here remained in the Canaanite hands. However, the kings were killed in battle. The 31 kings. Kli Yakar explains that the Medrash in the Bereshis Rabbah, Nun Gimel Yud, on this perek explains that, discusses this, different ways of explaining this. Then the Midrash explains these places, all sorts of depth. Israel was so prestigious that many of the kings from outside the country owned cities in the Holy Land of Israel itself, which explains why there were so many kings in a small country. In other words, it was a foreign investment, so to say. It also explains why the ruler of only one town should have the title of king. Why? You're not a king over one town. Rather, no. It's just like a second property, so to say. All the kings of Canaan took part in the banquet celebrating Yitzchak's circumcision, and they joined in mocking Avram, saying that Avimelech was the true father. Avram and Sarah, they were too old, and they didn't have any children. To that, Hashem responded to these scoffers that they're going to be conquered, and we ended up inheriting the land. Pasuk says, in Zion, Ve'elu Ve'ela Malchi Eretz Asher Hika Yehoshua B'nei Yisrael Be'eva Yarden Yama Ve'Baal Gad Ve'Bikas HaLavanon Ve'ad Hahar Hechalak Ha'oila Se'ira V'Yitana Yehoshua L'Shifti Yisrael Yerusha Kemache L'Koisam. These are the kings of the land that Yehoshua hit, and the Jews Be'eva Yarden on the other side of the Jordan, that's the western, and then Yama on the western side, Mebal from the plain of Gad, the Bikos in the valley of the Levanon, Va'ad Har, and until the mountain Hachalak, which was split, Oila, which would go up, Se'ira, to Se'ir. It's the name of a place. V'Yitani Yehoshua Shifti Yisrael, Yehoshua gave to the tribes of the Jews Yerusha. He gave it to them as an inheritance, Kemache L'Koisam, according to their divisions. Bahar b'Shefela, from the mountain and the lowlands, Uba Rav and the plain, Uba Ashtois and the waterfalls, Uba Midbar and in the desert, Uba Negev and in the south, Achita, Amori, Haknani, V'Aprizia, Hachivi, V'Yebusi. All of those people, the Chiti people, the Amori people, those nations, the Kanani, Prizi, the Chivi, and the Yebusi. Melech Yericho Echad, the king of Yericho is one. Melech Ai Asher Mitzad Beis El Echad, the king of Ai from the side of Beis El is another one. We learned about those episodes already. The Radak comments. Okay, the Radak is actually cut off here. Kol Elu, all the Shloishim Ve'echad, the Radak begins over here. Kol Elu, all the Shloishim Ve'echad, the 31 kings, Shezoicher, that are mentioned, Lo Hayamelech, they were not kings, Al Ir Achas Lavad, just on one city alone. Kol Ir Ve'ir is on every single city, Shezoicher, Haisa Rosh, that is mentioned, they were the head of that. The Radak continues, it just cut off Mamlochos Vahayamoshel, Ayarus V'Kamar Machir, and they ruled over that, and they also ruled over other cities and villages. Yud. Melech Yushalayim Echad, Melech Hebron Echad. The king of Yerushalayim is one, the king of Hebron is another one. Melech Yarmus Echad, the king of Yarmus is one. Melech Lachish Echad, the king of Lachish is another one. Melech Eglon Echad, Melech Geder Echad, the king, excuse me, Melech Eglon Echad, Melech Gezer Echad, the king of Eglon is one, the king of Gezer is another. Melech Debir Echad, Melech Geder Echad, the king of Debir is one, the king of Gezer is another. Melech Harma Echad, Melech Hadar Echad, the king of Harma is one, the king of Hadar is another. Melech Levano Echad, Melech Adulam Echad, the king of Levano is one, the king of Adulam is another. Melech Makeda Echad, Melech Beisel Echad, the king of Makeda is one, the king of Beisel is another. Melech Tapuach Echad, Melech Chifer Echad, the king of Tapuach is one, and the king of Chifer is another. Melech Afik Echad, Melech La Sharon Echad, the king of Afik is one, the king of Sharon is another. Melech Madon Echad, Melech Chatzor Echad, the king of Madon is one, and the king of Chatzor is another one. Melech Shimron Merois Echad, Melech Ashkaf Echad, the king of Shimron Merois is one, and the king of Achshaf is another. Melech Tanach Echad, Melech Megiddo Echad. The king of Tanach is one, the king of Megiddo is another. Melech Kadesh Echad, Melech Yakneam LeKarmel Echad. The king of Kadesh is one, the king of Yakneam is another. Of Yakneam by Carmel is another. Yakneam in the Carmel. Melech Dor Lenafis Dor Echad. The king of the district of the Nefes Dor is one of them. The king of Dor, which is in the district of Dor. That's a tricky one. Melech Goyim LeGilgal. The king of Goyim in Gilgal is another one. Melech Tirza Echad, Kol Melachim Shlosh Echad. The king of Tirza is one. All of these kings are 31. The end. I mean, that is relatively straightforward. Perek, nothing else to add over there.